We'll be taking a look at the windows here at Harlow House. As you can see, windows play an important part in this home's design, symmetry, balance, and appeal. In fact, there seems to be as much glass as concrete on these walls. The problem is that when this home was built more than 60 years ago, air conditioning was new technology and it wasn't widely used. In fact, the original air conditioning in this home was very simple. They opened the windows. Well, our homeowners were certainly expecting a little bit more, so we installed a new HVAC system in the home, which we'll show you a little bit later. But that posed another problem: what to do with over 100 windows that were not very energy efficient. Should we repair or should we replace? Also on today's program, we'll take you to South Bend, Indiana for a visit to the University of Notre Dame. We'll be looking at their recently completed renovation of the old Beaux-Arts style school library. They too were faced with the problem of conditioning a space that was never intended to be conditioned. We'll show you their solution and ours when we return. Owning property on a Florida beach may seem like a dream come true, but the effects of the salty and humid air can cause a variety of problems to beachfront homes. The windows at Harlow House were left open to cool the home in the summer months, which led to damage both inside and out. Now that we've installed a new HVAC system, we needed to find the best way to make the home airtight. Which led us to our windows. Here we have some well-made windows made out of pine and cypress, designed to last for a long time, but yet they had single glazed glass. So our position and our concerns were to either restore them or possibly replace them. So we had to take each window on a per case basis and look at what we were faced with as far as doing the restoration work, see whether it was worth doing or possibly replacement. You can see by some of the conditions that are existing on this window here, where we have the sash that's rotted out, has been painted, but over the years hasn't been maintained. In some cases, the glazing has failed completely, leading to damage to the sash and frames. The trim and frames have been patched so many times over the years that all the exterior detail has been lost. Painting over a problem is never the answer, and over the years, water penetration has damaged the sashes, trim, and sills outside and inside. So we're faced with the problem here again of what to do with the windows. We have a budget that we need to consider. We have the length of time that we have to work on this particular project, coupled with the architectural style of this home that we need to maintain. Our challenge is not unlike what others have faced in the past. As an example, we took a trip to Notre Dame University, where they were involved in the restoration of a wonderful Beaux-Arts library. Take a look.
The Bond School of Architecture was originally the Lamonia Library, built in 1917. The architect was Edward Tilton of New York, who also designed Ellis Island. He studied at the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris, and he gave us this wonderful library reminiscent of the Boston Public and Saint-Geneviève in Paris. The building is interesting because built at the time, it has a concrete frame interior, masonry exterior, and we tried to do a renovation that would be in harmony with that and would continue that tradition. The person who designed the renovation was Thomas Gordon Smith, the chairman of the architecture school, and we have a series of new spaces on the interior and then a new 20,000 square foot addition on the back.
Well, show us that interior.
Look forward to it.
I guess in this room we see some of the more dramatic changes that Tilden had instituted in library design with this large foyer here, which was actually called the receiving room?
The delivery room.
Delivery room.
And there was an octagonal desk right here where you would come and order your books, and then they go to the closed stacks and pick them up. But it's a perfect spacious lobby for an architecture school too, to have models in it, to have meetings, to have receptions, banquets. And this is the library where we did the most important renovation of the architecture building. We moved the architectural library back to the center where it had been originally, and to symbolically express the importance of study and books for the classical architect. And so we created this Greek temple.
Well, you pulled it off well, and you used a lot of new technology in here to do the same thing. Rather than using marble columns, they are plaster, I suppose?
That's right. They're plaster over metal lath with cast capitals. The entablature is both wood and plaster. And of course, we had to integrate heating and ventilating in these wonderful new grills.
I understand you had to do some compromising to maintain a comfort level here.
That's correct. The existing building was a problem both for the students and for the books, for the humans and for the books. And there was damage to the books, and we really needed to move away from steam heat into something more up to date. And there's another room I can take you to, the gallery, which makes this very clear, I think.
Wow, Duncan, this is a great room. All this wonderful light in here. And I understand this was one of the original reading rooms.
That's correct, yep. And we transferred it into a gallery. And of course, we have student work is pinned up here. We have reviews of student work. We have receptions. It's a wonderful new room. But we did have to deal with this question of how to renovate it for heating and air conditioning.
We have the same dilemma. Do we restore what's there, which are great cypress windows, or do we install new ones that are going to be more cost-effective and low maintenance over the years to come?
Yeah, the budget is a big issue. Our windows were oak, and they're very nice, double-hung, operable windows. But the feeling was that with insulation and air conditioning and heating, we had to have double glazing. We needed to make them sealed tight, and so we went with fixed windows above and operable windows below. And I think it's a very nice compromise. They, in design, in the moldings, replicate the earlier windows.
Well, you folks have pulled it off quite well, and I'm sure if Tilden were here, he'd be very proud of what you've done.
Thank you very much.
Well, it was certainly interesting speaking with Duncan Stroit. They're faced with the same problems that we're faced with today, trying to condition a space that was really never designed to be conditioned. They wanted to create a comfort level for their students. We want to create a comfort level for our homeowners. They were concerned about the humidity and the environment for their antique book collection. We're concerned about the interior restoration, the draperies, and the furniture. So, following their steps, they decided to replace their existing windows with new energy-saving windows. We are basically going to do the same thing. After many hours of research and sleepless nights, we've come to the same conclusion. But it wasn't an easy one. After all, we had to look for windows that would maintain the same architectural style of our home, yet provide less maintenance in the long run. Well, we certainly don't want to take credit for making all these weighty decisions on our own. We had a lot of help from our window consultant, Eric Quinna. Now, Eric, we had some problems that we had to overcome. Are these windows our solution?
Right, they are, Mitch. In the house, the old windows are the wood windows,
right.
Old wood windows, and one of the concerns was matching the quality and the look of the old window.
Yeah, so we could stain it and or paint it.
Right, so we've got a stained grade wood window, double hung like the style was before.
So this style maintains the architectural existing style of the windows, right?
Correct, and you can see there's an architectural detail to the upper and lower sash, and it's interior and exterior.
And they are double hung like the originals.
They are double hung, yes sir.
Another concern was the maintenance on these windows. On the eastern exposure, they were painted every year. Here on the western exposure, every 2 years. That's not something that we really want to continue.
Right, maintenance was a big issue, and we selected a clad product, which is, there's several different products. There's a vinyl product, there's the aluminum. We've selected the aluminum in this case. What it is basically is a low maintenance protective covering for the windows, the wood windows.
So we're not going to have to paint them as often.
Correct. It'll save you on the painting, and it's a Seacoast paint that happened to match the original color of the house.
Well, what about the workability? Now, one of the concerns that we have when the ocean breeze is blowing, it just covers the windows with this salt fog.
Right.
Trying to clean these windows in some places is very difficult.
Right. The salt there, as well as eating the paint that was there before, it also does discolor your windows where you don't see the ocean view like
Right.
you would like to. These windows happen to have a wash feature, so they're easy to open from the inside. They can all be washed from the inside. You don't need the scaffolding to get up and wash the exterior of the windows.
Top sash moves as well?
Correct. It's full double hung.
Oh, great. Now, the other thing with major concern was the energy efficiency of the windows themselves. Here we had a space that we were going to condition. How were we going to keep the cold air in and the hot air out?
Right. Of course, the house wasn't originally designed for air conditioning. It had single glazed wood windows. And they're generally, the older windows are very leaky, and these windows are much tighter. They're sealed on the edges, and the insulated glass, the high-performance insulated glass, helps protect also from the transmission of the heat through the window.
So it's going to give our homeowners a comfort level that they can enjoy. Then,
right, and it should save them a lot of money on the electric bill.
Well, Eric, you've been a great asset. Thanks for all your help.
Thank you, Mitch.
Now, another concern we had was the installation of our windows.
This was the first set that we actually installed on the job, so we really wanted to see what we had to work with. So we removed the existing windows, removed the whole jamb, all the sashes and all the sills, to find out how we were going to install these new ones. Well, after we worked on them for a few days to get it down just right, we realized that we didn't have to remove the jambs at all. Let me show you what we did do. Before we start doing anything to the exterior of the windows, we want to remove the sashes. And to do that, we have to remove the sash stops. And the sash stops are actually what hold the window in. They're these little molded strips. And a lot of times they're nailed, but these happen to be screwed, so they're very easily removed. The other thing that we'll do then is remove the sash balances. A lot of the older homes, you'll find that there are weights held on by cords, sometimes chains, but these were introduced around the 20s, and they're actually just recessed up into the pocket or the header of the window itself. So once we remove those, we'll be able to remove the bottom sash, then the top sash.
Demolition is always more fun than installation, but in our case, we needed to take care not to damage the existing window jamb or interior trim. Old sash balances like these are spring-loaded units, so make sure the tension is released before it's removed from the jamb. Once that's done, the bottom window sash can be removed.
We'll take out this parting bead. Once the parting bead's out, we'll take out this glide, which was our guide for our bottom sash. Do the same to both sides.
Once all the parting beads and glides are removed, the top sash can be dropped below the upper guides and pulled out. The upper sash balances are carefully disconnected, and the upper guides and any leftover materials are cleared from the frame. Our new windows were designed to fit into the existing opening, so we didn't have to disturb the interior trim, although we did have to saw the outside trim flush with the window frame. One of the things to consider when replacing windows is finding a good exterior work platform. On our job, we saved a lot of time and effort by renting both a bucket lift and a scissor lift.
After all this is done, the next thing that we had to do is put in this pressure-treated strip with stainless steel nails, or screws actually, which is going to elevate our windows. These are already in, so the next thing we needed to do was anchor the window itself. Now there's a couple different ways that you can go about doing that. A lot of the windows come with a basic nailing flange. This flange is attached into this groove and then bent out so that the windows can be nailed into your framing. This is used a lot in new construction, as well as another method that uses clips. These galvanized clips are inserted into the edge of the window frame, and then they can nail through here into their frame. Both these applications really weren't going to work for us, so what we had to do then was use another method.
In our case, we had to use a direct set method. First, pilot holes were drilled through the jamb liner and frame. Once the new window was in place, 3-inch coarse thread screws were used to secure the unit to the old frame. Because we're using aluminum exterior trim pieces, each window is carefully checked and shimmed to ensure that all the trim openings are plumb and aligned at the sill. Once secure, the window is ready to be trimmed and sealed airtight. It's ironic that today we work to maintain climate control by using airtight windows. Historically, of course, letting the air in through the windows was the only source of air conditioning. Double-hung sash windows, like the ones we're replacing at Harlow House, have been a part of American homes since colonial times, and for good reason. Double-hung windows could be opened at the top and bottom, an ideal way to provide efficient air circulation. Although the basic design of the sash window has changed very little over 200 years, many variations survive in classic homes around the country. One of the most common are these oversized sash windows, or jib windows, rising from the floor. In the summer months, these large windows could be opened, allowing those inside easy access to the exterior, very often a veranda, and in turn allow tremendous ventilation for the interior. One of the finest examples of an early passive ventilation system can be found at Laurel Court in Cincinnati. In the center of this home is a large atrium covered by a huge skylight. In the summer months, the skylight could be rolled back, allowing the entire home to be ventilated. Inside, The rooms were built with louver doors to allow the air to circulate. For more privacy, the louvers could be closed and a transom above the doorway could be opened. Today, homeowners demand a lot more climate control over their interior spaces. We talked with expert Wayne Grannis about the challenges involved with retrofitting our classic home with a modern HVAC system.
Wayne, I'm glad you could be with us today because I wanted you to explain to us the benefits of the system that we installed in this house. You know, we had a house that was never designed to be conditioned, and now we brought air conditioning into it for the first time. And of course, you know some of the concerns that we were faced with.
Yeah, one being the mechanical systems that would be sitting outside the house and detract from the appearance of the house and be subject to the salt air and the conditions out there that which would eventually deteriorate.
Exactly. We're right on the Atlantic Ocean.
Exactly. And then penetrating the walls with refrigerant lines. You didn't want to do that either.
No. And we were limited in our space. We didn't want to alter the interior, so we decided that this would be a great space, which is our old mechanical room, if we could take advantage of this and incorporate a system down here. And I see that you've done just that.
This is a package unit. This unit is a complete system unto itself. It's got an air handler and a condensing section. There's no need for any outdoor unit.
Well, that's good.
We bring in groundwater to go through a water to refrigerant heat exchanger. In the heating mode, we take heat from the water and transfer it into the space. And in the cooling mode, we take heat out of the space and transfer it into the water.
So the key is a good water supply. You have to have a well.
Absolutely.
You're not going to pull water off a meter or city meter, are you?
Too expensive.
Too expensive. We're pulling in how much water then to service the system?
It's about 40 gallons per minute for all the systems.
And that's a lot of water. And we had to find an area to discharge this too. So what we did, we utilized an old irrigation line that goes all the way out to the front of the property, and we dedicated that for our discharge. So when these units are running at full capacity, we'll be able to bring 42 gallons per minute into the home and then discharge it out there into a nice swampy area.
Couldn't be better.
Well, you know, another concern that we had, though, was we have 3 stories here. You know, this is a self-contained package. If we had to put something like this in our attic, that means we were going to run plumbing lines up through our walls, possibly having to cut the walls, possibly having to cut flooring and ceilings. But I understand with this system, we didn't have to do any of that.
Absolutely. I can understand your concerns about that, and we have a product that'll handle that situation. Mitchell, these are those units I was referring to when we were standing over by that package unit.
So the other part of this is up in the attic, right?
Absolutely. The air handling section is up in the attic space. The condensing section with the water connections are here in the basement.
So we don't have any water lines running up to the 2nd floor, 3rd floor in the attic. No chance of leaks.
No
All the water
possibility.
is discharged out of this one back to our unit out front, right?
Right.
A much cleaner system. We didn't have to do any alterations to get these units installed there.
Absolutely.
Now these control our 3rd floor, and that unit over there that we just saw controls the north end, but we also have some up under the house, and those are controlling the south end of the 2nd floor?
Yes, yes. The house is situated in zones where we have thermostats that control individual zones on both floors. What that allows you to do is to have different temperatures in different spaces to accommodate whatever happens to be going on. And if people aren't in a space, there's no point in conditioning that space beyond just controlling the humidity.
That's great. So if we're in the kitchen and we want the temperature 72 degrees, but we're not in the other end of the house, we can maybe set the temperature there, the thermostat, to 80 degrees.
Absolutely.
Because in a house this size, you don't want to condition it all because you may not be here half the time.
Right, and you never would maintain the same temperature throughout the whole house.
Now, Wayne, what kind of savings can our homeowners expect from a system like this?
Water source heat pumps have the best efficiency of any product in the industry. You can expect savings of 25 to 50% over conventional equipment.
Well, that's incredible, but they also have that additional cost of a well, though, right?
Yeah, and that's something that you just have to pay for. In your instance here, you had a well, so it didn't really
exactly.
cost you anything.
And the longevity of these units?
20 years is the expected life expectancy.
Well, that's incredible. Well, the well's a small price to pay for a system that's going to last 20 years.
Sure is.
Well, that's great. Hey, I want you to show me how to operate these thermostats so I can
Okay.
show the homeowners when they get here.
Before we could see the benefits of our new HVAC system, we had to first complete the installation of our new windows.
the next step is to start trimming out the exterior. And it's kind of an interesting procedure because we use what's called a jam extension, and it's actually an 18 gauge metal, similar to the cladding on the window, and also the color matches that as well. Now, the widths we're using vary, so you can order it to accommodate the job that you're working on. We have usually a distance around the frame to our concrete about 2 and 2¼ inches. So we ordered stock that would be about 2½, so we'd have an opportunity to trim it off if need be. It already comes with a lip bent so that it'll insert into the frame itself. So we'll cut and form the jam extensions similar to what we have here, where this has the lip, it goes into the edge of the window, and this will go back along the wall, creating a nice reveal, and then this will be caulked. In addition to the side pieces and the maul is shaped like this. It's returned on both ends, and that's really what's going to join the center of the windows together. We also have a sill, what Kevin is working on right now. The sill piece is designed to fit into the top of the window frame, come down over the space between the window and the wood sill, and then cover the wood sill itself. So we've got a lot of this to do, but before we do that, we need to insulate around the windows prior to putting the metal on, and Colin's working on that right now. The foam that we're installing is not for any insulative quality, but basically for air infiltration. So if there are any air gaps under there, if air has a tendency to get through any of the trim, it'll be stopped by the foam. You got that, Colin? The next step is to go ahead and install our sills. Now, Kevin was down there working on those, and we already had a pattern or a jig made. So the way that these will be installed is this lip will be inserted into these grooves on the sill of these windows, and that's why it was very important to make sure that these windows lined up, that they were perfectly true across there, because you can't make the metal move up and down. So we'll start from one end. Here, I'll just start from this end down here and tap these in. You ready, Colin? Is that going in pretty good? Good. Now, once we get this in place here, we've got the other ones to do. We'll run a bead of sealant around the windows to allow for our expansion, and that'll wrap up about 2 windows for us. We've only got about 100 more to do.
Once the units are completely trimmed out and sealed, it's nearly impossible to tell that our new windows aren't original to the house, and they're energy efficient and much easier to maintain.
As you've seen, retrofitting historic homes like ours for air conditioning can lead to some very difficult decisions. But thanks to new product innovation and designs like our new windows, there are ways to bring old homes into the 21st century without sacrificing their 19th century appeal.
On our next program, we'll be looking at the problem of concrete restoration. Over the last 60 years, poor water drainage has caused a variety of problems at Harlow House, and we'll show you how we repair them. Also, we'll give you a taste of what life was like during the Gilded Age. Come with us on a tour of the Elms in Newport, Rhode Island, one of America's most extraordinary private homes.
Until next time, I'm Mitchell McDaniel for today's Classic Homes.
It's the most celebrated train station in America. Tour the newly renovated Grand Central Station on an upcoming episode of today's Classic Homes.
Funding for today's Classic Homes has been made possible by the following corporations.
This program is made possible by Pella, makers of classic windows and patio doors, bringing you style and innovation since 1925.
And by your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. With paint, stain, wallpaper, and decorating ideas, Sherwin-Williams can help you create all the looks you've imagined.
And by DuPont Corian, used in commercial and residential applications worldwide, including new applications like furniture, lighting, and architectural details. Corian, looking beyond the surface for ways to express your design and performance needs.
Made possible by Hartco Quality Wood Flooring Company, makers of Pattern Plus 5000 and other sliced cut hardwood flooring products.
To order a copy of this program, please call 1-800-256-4408 or send $19.95 plus $4 shipping and handling to the address on your screen. Please specify episode number 203 when ordering.
This is PBS.